listening to Xposed Living, Be Ageless, the podcast where we drop the masks, flip the script, and talk real life, real love, and real leadership unfiltered. I'm Stacey Van Thun, coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of the Xposed Living movement that's redefining what it means to live, lead, and grow at any age. We talk identity, reinvention, belief, and freedom from the bedroom to the boardroom. Yes, we go there. This is not about staying young. This is about waking up. So if you're done with the shoulds and craving more fun, more freedom, more truth, more you, then grab your favorite drink, your bestie, maybe your journal. It's time. Let's get exposed. Welcome to Xposed Living. I'm your host, Stacey Van Thun, and today I am delighted to share a story of courage, reinvention, resiliency with my guest, Fraser Sockett. You know, this is where we strip away the noise, the conditioning, and the stories that keep high performers stuck and rebuild from truth. You're going to find a lot of that in today's conversation because that's exactly what happens when you stop numbing and start facing what's real. It's about reinvention through fire. Fraser spent over 20 years in the intensity of professional kitchens, high performance, high pressure, and a culture that often celebrates pushing past limits until it catches up with you. Burnout, alcohol, and a moment where something had to change. A decision had to be made. Face it or numb it. And Fraser chose to face it. And what he found on the other side wasn't just recovery, it was purpose. And now Fraser's helping people to dismantle toxic workplace cultures and teaching people how to reframe their past into something that actually serves them. This is about story, it's about identity, and the courage to rewrite both. So let's get exposed. Welcome, Fraser, to Xposed Living.
Thank you. That was such a wonderful introduction. It sent chills up my spine.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that. Actually, you just sent chills up mine. You know, I'm really glad we're having this conversation, Fraser. There's a lot in your story, and I don't want to rush past it or oversimplify it. Can we just start here with asking, when you look back at that time, the intensity, the burnout, the drinking, what was really going on for you beneath the surface?
The best answer would have been burnout because I did not know what burnout was. Like, I realized I was burned out when COVID happened and we had that forced vacation that most people in the restaurant industry had. I loved my time and I honestly did not know what burnout was. I didn't know the definition of it or the symptoms, but when I was able to sit and rest, I realized this is nice. I don't need too much in my life to have a happy life. And then I recovered from my burnout a little bit. And then when we all got the call back to head back to work, I realized patterns were repeating themselves. I was stuck in a cycle. I wanted to make some change happen, but others didn't want the change to happen because they were quite happy with me being the workhorse of the restaurant, but I wasn't. I wanted to make some peace in my life, to have some change in my life, and eventually that led me to go back to school as a mature student, which was a whole nother experience, which I loved. And yeah, that was when I realized everything began to change on St. Patrick's Day, 2020.
Okay, take us back there.
So, St. Patrick's Day, 2020, I do my regular stuff at work. I start setting up the line. Then my boss comes in and he's like, well, we may need to put a pause on you setting up the line because we have a meeting in about an hour and we got to make some decision happen. So I was kind of stuck in a limbo. I didn't do any more of setting up the line. paused everything, was like thinking, should I start tearing down the kitchen even before I started opening it up totally? But eventually, the decision was made that we would be shutting down for COVID, which was something I've never experienced. Like, no one in the world experienced COVID. No
All
one
right.
experienced the great plague of 2020, which I like to refer to. And I know that sounds dramatic, but that was essentially what it was. So eventually, we closed down the kitchen. I told members of my team to come in if they're able to because we had to get rid of a bunch of food that we could not freeze. So I'm like, take whatever you can. And obviously, I had my manager's permission, of course. So yeah, later that day, I was carrying a bucket of beef on the bus heading home, not realizing that that moment was going to be changing my life forever. And then obviously I did drink a little bit more at the beginning of COVID because you know what? That was a vacation for me. That was my first vacation I had in like 10 years or something at the point. So I eventually started drinking a little bit more. And over time, I began to realize I don't want to keep drinking. It was a symptom of working in the kitchen industry. During that time, I discovered myself, um, went for a lot more nature walks myself. I even bought a banjo, tried to learn how to play it. I was not able to, but it was a nice little skill I tried to pick up, and I have a lot more respect for people that play instruments now.
You know, it's interesting to me when you share because COVID's a time I find people don't even name it something and just try to like, that time when but it was so individualized what people experienced. So thank you for sharing the story of somebody that was involved in a high pressure service-based industry that went in one day to continue on St. Patty's Day. So expecting, I'm sure, a huge lineup, a long night, a lot of drinking, a lot of different activities. And then it just kind of stopped. And I like the way that you also said, at first, I just kind of went on to a vacation time. So I didn't even really think much about what I was doing. I just didn't have to go to work. And then from there, recognizing, oh, this is going to be a little bit longer than I thought. And during that time when you didn't have to wake up for work, was it there that you kind of started to navigate and ask yourself, like, what am I doing every day? What is my purpose? Or how did this come about?
Yeah, like I asked myself, what is my purpose? Like what should I do? Like I during that time I went back to editing a novel that I was been working on for 10 years at the time, and honestly I realized at the time that the novel was just garbage. It needed a lot of work, and so I started working on it. I am not working on that novel anymore. Basically, it's just, you know what? It's in the shelf. It's what it is. It's may not be the best thing, but I did like the plot I was working on, and it just made me start to think about life in general. And yeah, I decided I don't even know if I want to be a chef anymore. And like it so eventually, after about 6 or 8 weeks, I forget how long exactly, we got the call back. And you know what? The cycles kept continuing. I kept getting pushed to my limits. I noticed my drinking was starting to pick up again. And then eventually, about a year after COVID, I was putting away the order at the restaurant I was working at. So my coworker came in late, like he always does, and like when I was just putting away like a box of rice at the time, I said to myself, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna apply to McEwen and U of A after work today. I got rejected from both, but then eventually applied at NAIT and got accepted. That's where I went to culinary arts for like 20 years ago. And yeah, I applied for the accounting program, realized I did not like accounting and switched over to human resources. And eventually that led me to think about my future. I'm like, I want to be someone that tries to prevent workplace trauma because I got burnt out. It was horrible, and I just don't want people to experience that again. Some people in the restaurant industry will say that you can't change the restaurant industry, and I disagree with that. While I may not be able to change it completely, I think I can start pushing the wheel towards change.
So let's go into burnout because I think a lot of people use that word. I'm seeing it more and more, whether we're in a COVID time or not. And to you, or like the definition that you use when it comes to burnout is what?
It's a good question. I've never actually been asked that before, but it's just that sense of dread going to work every day. Like, I used to have like a sense of dread for going into work every day at my previous restaurant job. Like, I did not want to go there. I did not enjoy the bus ride there, clocking in and then doing my work there. But since I left that industry, I've actually found that I've been enjoying getting up in the morning, going to my job. Like, I got a wonderful boss right now, Thomas Stenson of Stenson HR Consulting. He told me to shamelessly plug his company, so
Yeah,
that's my
go
shame.
ahead. We'll get
But
Thomas on here too.
all right, but yeah, it's just having that desire to live and realizing I am the hero of my own story. It's up to me to make the changes that I need to make for myself and my life to make my life just better overall. Because you know what? No one else is going to change for you. You have to change for yourself. You have to start on the inside. You have to start learning to love yourself. And like every time you have like a negative thought in your head about yourself, you have to just say, stop it. It's not true. Replace that with another good thought.
I just smiling here and giving me the chills because I think you describe life for so many people, right? That we just wake up, we go through the motions, we don't really want to do it. We're going from a place of need, I have to go, and you're dragging it defines that. Are you living to survive or living to thrive? And people almost just throw those words around that people never really take the time to say, what does that mean to me? Here's a question for you. If somebody would have asked you prior to March 20th, are you burnt out? Do you think you would have responded by saying yes? Or do you think that you'd just been so accustomed to living that way that you had almost believed that is how life is?
I think I would have asked, what is burnout? Because like I didn't even know I had it till after I learned some of the symptoms and stuff. And honestly, I was just accustomed to that high paced lifestyle. Is like it built up such an insane amount of resilience and resistance in me, which is a wonderful gift to have right now. And while I may have not liked it at the time, I kind of have to actually thank it for what it did to me. It made me stronger overall.
Yeah, I love that, right? Like even in the most challenging times, we can find something good in it. But then it's our choice to either stay in that or to move out. And you made a choice to move out. So you referred to that you being your own hero and your own hero story. Can you elaborate on that for me? Because I love it.
Yeah, so I started coming to that point of thinking about after the dark night of my soul I had in January 2024, and I realized I need to figure out how to be the hero of my story. So I wrote a short story. I call it The Baker and Cathedral of Darkness. It's about, a simple baker who works in a village and this realizes oh, this coworker he once worked with is actually an angel of death who basically just murders him. And it's about his journey that he has to take to recover the parts of his soul that he lost. And that basically became the thesis of the book I'm working on right now.
Okay, so share with me, because there's a time gap between March 2020 and then you talk about the dark night of your soul in 2024. Do you mind elaborating on that for us?
Nope, I know that's kind of a big time gap. So yeah. While I was in the process of going to school, I was planning my escape from the restaurant industry. I was trying to find jobs that were better paying, but also suited my student lifestyle at the time. And I could not find anything because at the place I was working at, they gave a good tips, and having like an extra $500 in cash every 2 weeks on top of your paycheck is a wonderful thing. Eventually I relived the cycle of burnout and recovering through it again. Eventually I had just one phone call with my friend who used to work there, and I was like, I think they're trying to constructively dismiss me. And then so she tells me her reason why she thinks that they're trying to constructively dismiss me, and that completely just destroyed me and made my burnout look like nothing at all compared to some other workplace trauma that has happened in the restaurant industry.
So then what? Like, how did you recover from that, or what happened next?
Well, that's when I began going to therapy. Like, I'm still going to therapy over the reason why I left the restaurant industry. That is going to take a lot of, honestly, if some therapy to emotionally recover, but I'm in a better place than I was right then. Like when that happened, like I noticed my drinking was increasing again. I was going into more cycles of burnout. I was sparring, and eventually I had to figure out a way to get myself out of that cycle, which led me to writing that little short story I was mentioning earlier. And I realized, okay, so this is my origin story, and who do I want to become? And I realized I want to see myself as a hero or advocate of people who've had workplace trauma and burnout and other stuff in the restaurant industry. Because part of that conversation I had with my friend that night, I was talking about how I was thinking about in 10 years' time, I might start an HR consulting company that is focused on restaurants and the hospitality industry. I mean, that is something that's could be on the back burner still, but we'll see where life takes me. Because the thing about life is eventually you'll get like a plot twist that you never expected to see coming in that could just throw your life in a complete loop.
So you became aware in 2020 that, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing these situations. Oh my gosh, this drinking isn't serving my highest. Oh, I think I have other interests out there. But just because you become aware doesn't mean that things will change.
Exactly, like you have to make changes yourself. It is hard to quit drinking. Like it took me multiple attempts over like the course of a few years, but now I can honestly say that I'm about 15 months sober, which is a huge achievement for me. Thank you. And yeah, no, I've just discovered I really did not need to drink in the past. I mean, it was a coping mechanism that got out of hand. And while I know the restaurant industry is to blame a little, but the onus was on me. Like, I had to get out of that environment. I had to make changes within me and on the outside of me. And yeah, it was just learning process, and that's kind of why I'm working on my new book right now, where I want to help people heal or help people with the journey from addiction and just drinking, because I realized I do have an addictive personality, so I got to replace all the bad addictions with like good addictions like meditation or nature walks. So
That's awesome. So if someone's listening, feels stuck in their own chapter in life, what would you want them to understand about where they are and where they could be?
you are a product of your past beliefs. Where you are right now is based on your past thinking. So to be where you want to be in the future, you gotta think differently, create someone who you want to be, and guide yourself towards that person. So if you want to be someone who's a pilot, just imagine a avatar or pilot that's flying some sort of Boeing 747 or whatever plane, and guide yourself to be that person. Like, the path will not be linear. It's gonna swerve, loop, and go in circles, but eventually you'll get there, just not the way you thought you would. And that is the secret to becoming who you want to be. You gotta see yourself as the hero, and all heroes start off weak, underdeveloped. Like, every time you play a video game, you always start at level 1 and you gotta get to level 50 or level 100. So you gotta keep going on that journey, keep fighting the battles, keep gaining experience, keep gaining the items you need to achieve your goal, and eventually you'll get there. It's just putting your foot in front of the other foot.
Yeah, I love that. And that goes back to your other comment about plot twists. We can't always determine the how, but if we stay that steadfast with the vision and kind of take it as it comes, recognizing that these things are happening for me, they're building that resilience, the things that you talked about, the good that you got out of even a terrible situation, that with that type of persistence and continued vision, it will happen.
Exactly. It's just not going to happen overnight, probably not going to happen next week, but it's going to take at least a few years.
Yeah, I always say, especially with Gen X that we're on here, that, we didn't get to here overnight. And if we think that just awareness in a couple of days, because I know I've talked to some people, even I'm sure I've been that person myself, that's been like, well, I've meditated for a week. Like, where's it already? And it's like, no. If you come from certainty and knowing and really believed it, you wouldn't even be asking where it is, because you know that this is all necessary to get you to where you want to be.
Exactly. Like, I know we like to believe that we should see the evidence first, but we gotta believe in ourselves before we can see the evidence in ourselves. It's a struggle, it's a journey, but you know what? Life's about the journey and not the destination.
So good, Fraser. Before we get into our rapid fire questions, I do want to bring it back to what you're doing now, working in HR and speaking on workplace culture. I'm curious, from your lens, from your perspective, what are we still tolerating in workplaces that's quietly damaging people?
I would say, off the top of my head, just the language in emails. Like, we don't need to be so professional in some emails sometimes. I'm not saying we should swear or use foul language, but if someone has a typo or something in their email, don't judge them for that. It's just more about getting the message across than being the perfectionist. Like, we have to stop worrying about being perfectionists and just embrace our mistakes, because it's our flaws that make us who we are. And honestly, if we were all perfect, we would all be the same and life would just be boring.
Seriously. And then knowing around your mission and your drive to improve workplace culture, especially in restaurant, what would be one of the first things you'd want to change?
The first thing I would want to change in restaurants is the negative, hostile working environments. Because in the past, I've tried to set boundaries and I've been told to suck it up or get over it. I've even been called a princess because I did not want to be disturbed on my day off over something I could not solve from home. Like sometimes there are bad leaders and you just have to deal with that, but you can learn from them. Like something I've told my friend in the past is take the bad leader, ask yourself what they would do in that situation, and then do the opposite of that.
When you look at who you were then to who you are now, what's the biggest shift that made the difference? What's something you're most proud of you for doing?
Honestly, having a positive mindset, because I used to be that negative person who liked to claim they were realistic, but the fact is, I was just pessimistic and I had to learn on how to see the bright side of life. You know, I like to try and find the humor in dark situations because I love dark comedies, and sometimes life will give us lemons and sour grapes at the same time, and we can always make the lemons into lemonade, but it's taking those sour grapes that will be the hard part, because to make the sour grapes in a fine wine, we have to like learn how to become a winemaker and just go through the process, and that requires time, work, and dedication, and we have to be dedicated to ourselves in the end.
Thank you, Fraser. If people want to get a hold of you, to learn more about workplace culture, to learn about more about your story, to get some support from you, how would they get a hold of you, Fraser?
The best place is to reach out to me on LinkedIn because I got rid of my Facebook a couple of years ago. It was just toxic. That was another addiction. I was working on getting rid of my social media addiction. But yeah, follow me on LinkedIn, Fraser Sockett, or if you want to subscribe to my Substack where I do more of my spiritual writings and non-professional business writings, you could subscribe. My username is Lord Alistair Shadowbite. I believe I sent you a link about to it earlier,
Yes.
so hopefully you can put it in the notes.
I absolutely can put it in the notes. You know, you referred there to the spirituality side and how that played a role in your transformation. What did that open for you that logic or effort alone couldn't?
Well, it opened a lot of things for me that logic or effort couldn't. It made me believe that there is something in the universe guiding us to our best selves. I wasn't really religious all my life, but it took that dark night of my soul that was because of something that happened at work a long time ago that made me realize if such darkness exists in the universe, there's got to be the opposite. There's got to be that light that exists in the universe. So I've got to try and look for it. And that was what led me into my spiritual path, which I'm still on a journey to is right now. And I'm loving my spiritual journey.
Makes me smile too. My words for this year was around faith and surrendering, and get that a little bit more. And it's interesting when I talk to people, they'll say, well, I don't believe in God. I said, it's not even God. It's a faith of knowing within yourself that there's something greater at play and that we aren't alone.
Exactly.
And it's always helped me. I know when I think to your earlier point, there are times where we can get misguided by those negative thoughts that come up. And if we become aware of them and knock them out, then we flip to the positive of it, but really embodying that feeling. And I know for myself, a couple cheat codes I have for it is like praise music instantly embodies the feeling of it. It can shift my energy in the music. And whether it's praise music for anyone listening or your favorite music, but something that shifts you, movement, obviously, because movement changes your physiology. And for me right now, I don't know if you're familiar with them, and if not, I will send you a couple links, but to Neville Goddard and really acting from that law of assumption that it's already done. And when we come with that feeling of, you said it earlier, everything in our 3D world that we experience right now is just a lag of yesterday's thinking. So if we can really get into that belief before evidence and know that it's coming, and I just have to act like that, it is a powerful feeling. So I'm really loving some of Neville's work to like reinforce that. And it's funny how you can just shift your state by tuning into more of what you want than what you don't want.
Yeah, I've only gotten into Neville Goddard in the last month or so. Like, he's still somewhat new to me, but I am liking his philosophies on life. And honestly, I am not a fan of calling it God, because that makes me thinking of an old man
Yeah.
I just like to refer to it as the divine or the source.
Right.
There are many names that it's been called throughout humanity.
Yeah, so important. And that's where I think that people miss it, because they're arguing about what it is. It's like, call it whatever you want. Focus, though, there's something greater than us working at play. So how do you align yourself with it, right? So thank you for sharing all that. You ready for a little rapid fire?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Fraser, what is one belief you had to let go of to change your life?
I had to let go of the belief that I was a failure or a loser in life, because I was bullied a lot in high school, and it led me to keep believing those lies throughout my life. So I had to force myself and tell myself, those are just the projections of other people. I am not that person. I am who I want to be. I am a powerful, strong, mighty force of nature that can do whatever they want.
Yes! What are you no longer available for?
For just the mundane, worthless, negative self-talk people have for themselves. Just stop it, get over it. I know it's easier said than done, but stop talking crap about yourself. Start talking good stuff about yourself.
Love it. What's one word you're living into right now?
That's a good question. One word I'm living into now, I would say power. That is what I'm coming into now. My inner power that is shining outwards, and hopefully it's going to influence and inspire other people to live their best lives.
I'll tell you what, you can drop hope. It already has. I heard it. You've been inspiring me all morning. What's one truth people avoid that would change everything?
One truth is just realize that you're always going to be the villain of someone else's story. And you know what? It's not the greatest thing, but you have to get over that. You're going to offend someone, you're going to hurt someone, but try and not do it in a cruel or malice manner, and just be as kind as you can. But obviously, you're always going to have some enemies in life, whether you like it or not, and just accept it and become the hero of your own story and the villain of others.
Thank you. Your last one. To you, at this stage of your journey, what does living exposed mean to you?
It means showing the flaws of your past and using that as a roadmap to your future self.
Thank you, Fraser. I've loved this conversation. And what stands out to me the most is that nothing that Fraser has shared is out of reach. There was no magic moment. There was no perfect plan. There was awareness. There was honesty. There was a decision to stop avoiding what was true and to take action in a new way. Because what I believe is most people don't stay stuck because they can't change. Many people I think we've all been there at one point in time, stay stuck because they won't look at what needs to be changed. And that's the work. That's the night of the deep soul that Fraser spoke about. If something in this conversation resonated, don't brush past it. That's not random. It's awareness. And awareness is where everything begins. This is Xposed Living. Be bold, be ageless, be brave, and make sure that you enjoy every moment, because as Fraser says, we're not guaranteed tomorrow and we don't get what we want. You get who you are. So where are your beliefs? Move to belief before evidence and have an incredible day. Thanks, Fraser.
Thank you for having.
That's it for today's episode of Xposed Living, Be Ageless. But this is just the beginning. If this episode made you feel something, share it. Tag me. Send it to a friend. Let's start the conversation we can be having all along. No shame, no guilt. Unfiltered, raw, real, exposed. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the Xposed Living Facebook community, where we take this work off the podcast and into real life. Know this, your change starts when your excuses die. Because this life, this one wild, ageless, unforgettable life is waiting on you. This is your time. This is your truth. This is Xposed Living.